Hey y'all, and welcome back to Scripture with Shyla. Some of you might have been following me for a little bit and know that I've started a Bible study on my YouTube channel. Well, I didn't start that from the beginning. I think I got into Genesis 4, and I realized that as I was handwriting out the Bible, while I was writing it and I was saying it in my head, I was doing it slow enough that I didn't feel like I was really getting something out of it. Also felt like I needed to be studying the scripture I was writing. So it wasn't until Genesis 4 that I started doing the Bible study. So I'm a little behind. So I'm going to start making up the Genesis 1, 2, and 3 and posting those so that I have the full Bible up to this point. So that being said, we're going to do Genesis 1 today. And yeah, go ahead and grab your Bible, a notebook, and a pen and follow along. Okay, y'all. Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening, and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens, to separate the day from the night. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens." So God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life. I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning on the sixth day. Okay, I have to say, Genesis is one of my favorite books of the Bible, because in the beginning, right? It was the very beginning. I feel like it was God's original vision for us. And we live now in a world that we've somewhat not created. The Lord has still created it, but we've found ways to just change it, right? And so we live quite a bit different now than the way the Lord wanted us to live. All of it has to do with the sin that was brought into the world. Otherwise, we'd all still be living in Eden. Every time I read and he said that it was good, it just makes me smile, because I picture him just kind of being proud of his own creation. Something that I struggled with as a kid when I was an atheist and trying to understand heaven. And I do that because I wasn't a believer at the time. Back then, I'm like, listen, so you're saying, like, if I get up in a rocket ship, right, and I go far enough, because as God talks about heaven, he talks about the expanse. And he's saying, God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so, and God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening and there was morning the second day, right? And so I always think of it as a physical place that we as humans can visit, right? That, okay, there's this expanse dividing us. And so if we get in a rocket ship, right, we can just go up to heaven and visit people. And so then so as an atheist, I was like, listen, there's many people that have been up in space, and, you know, we have so much science and all this stuff, and no one's ever seen heaven. So, and it wasn't until I became a believer, obviously, and did a lot of research, that I learned the difference between the realm that we live in and the spiritual realm, right? And so God is spirit, right? He is not human. Jesus was sent in the flesh to be human, but now he is seated next to God. They are both very much in a spiritual place that we cannot access because we are still alive and human. And so I'm like, well, of course I can't get in a rocket and go visit heaven because I'm in my human fleshly body, right? And so I can't have access to that until I've gone to be with Jesus, right? And so I want to see what my study Bible says about all of this, because it always has a little different outlook. And then, just so everyone knows, you guys don't know this, but my favorite version of the Bible is NIV, probably because it's the same version they use in my Bible school. And so I've just gotten very familiar with it because I have to read it. And so when I'm writing out the Bible for my daughter, it's in NIV. However, NIV is still copyright protected. So when I come on here and I'm reading the Bible, I'm reading it in ESV, in case you want to follow along with the actual verbiage. It is ESV. So, and because this is one of my favorite books of the Bible, and the beginning is just chef's kiss, instead of me just doing my Bible study and reading you like the Cliff Notes, I want to read some of what this says. So this is just a women's study Bible. I've said before, I don't know why it matters that it's a women's study Bible. I'm not sure if it's just the verbiage and the way it speaks is more geared towards women. I'm not certain. I just know I'm a girl, so I bought it. So it says in here, Genesis 1:1-2, God's creation and ordering of heaven and earth. The book of Genesis opens with a majestic description of how God created the heavens and earth, and then put everything in order so that it might become his dwelling place. God assigns humanity to govern the other creatures on his behalf, so that the whole earth should become the temple of God, the place of his presence, displaying his glory. So that gives us such a good picture of what God intended, and what he intended was for us to live together in harmony from day one, right? It says he put everything in order so that it might become his dwelling place, not just ours, but his as well, where we literally can be in his presence. Man, we just really messed that one up. And then it says, God assigned humanity to govern the other creatures on his behalf so that the whole earth should become the temple of God, the place of his presence, displaying his glory. That's what I picture when I picture Eden, which we haven't even got to yet. In the beginning, the opening verse of the Genesis creation account can be taken as either 1, a summary of the entire process of creation, or 2, a description of the first event in creation. This event would have occurred sometime before the first day and would have included the creation of matter, space, and time. The second view emphasizes the fact that God created the universe from nothing. As I read this, I go back to my comment I made. So this was a different time, right, than what we're currently living in, and this is a different world than we're currently living in. So as an atheist, when I talked about, well, heaven's supposed to be right here, right? God separated these two bodies with the expanse. And so heaven's right here, the earth is right here. So why can't we go to it? Well, back here, when God created the world, they were very much one place, separated by this expanse, right? Heaven was on earth, right? It's once the fall happens and then now there's a veil and we have to go to God through other ways. We can't just walk in the garden with him. That's when the change happened, where we now no longer can access heaven as who we are. I'm processing through this out loud, so hopefully y'all aren't lost, because there's so many aha moments, and I think that I understand something, and then as I continue reading, I'm like, oh, just kidding. I understand nothing. So 6-8, as light was separated from darkness, so the waters are separated to form an expanse, which God calls heaven. It is difficult to find a single English word that accurately translates the precise meaning of this Hebrew term. In this context, it refers to what humans see above them, that is, the region that contains both heavenly lights and birds. 9-13, God organizes two further regions, the dry land, forming earth, and the waters, forming seas. God then instructs the earth to bring forth vegetation. The creation of distinctive locations in days 1-3, along with vegetation, prepares for the filling of these locations in days 4-6, or 4-6. 14-19, these verses describing the fourth day correspond with the separating of light and darkness on the first day. Here is the creation of lights that will govern time as well as provide light upon the earth, by referring to them as the greater light and the lesser light. The author of Genesis avoids using terms that were also proper names for pagan gods linked to the sun and the moon. The term made may simply mean that God fashioned or worked on these greater and lesser lights. It does not necessarily mean that they did not exist in any form before this. On this day, God made it possible that the sun and the moon would define the passing of time, the references to seasons or appointed times, and to days and years probably referred to appointed times for religious observances in the Hebrew calendar. And 16, and the stars. The immense universe that God created, I'm not going to Isaiah right now, is mentioned here only briefly, almost as the afterthought. The focus of Genesis 1 is on the earth. 20-23, this section on day 5 describes how the waters in the expanse of the heavens are filled with various kinds of creatures. 21, the Hebrew term for the great sea creatures can mean large serpents, dragons, or crocodiles, as well as whales or sharks. Some have suggested that this could also refer to the extinct creatures such as dinosaurs. Do you want to go down that rabbit hole? 24-25, livestock and creeping things and beasts of the earth. These terms group the land-dwelling animals into 3 broad categories, probably reflecting the way nomadic shepherds would experience them. This list is not intended to be exhaustive, and it is hard to know in which category to put some animals. That's true, because we've had this argument before about the dinosaur thing, and I say we as in believers. but it's not like in the Bible it lists out every form of animal, right? Pig, cow, goat, sheep. There are so many different animals. It's just categories in them by like land animals and water animals and air animals, right? Like, so not a salvation issue, so we're not going to argue about it. 26, let us make man in our image. Some have suggested that God may be addressing the members of his heavenly court, whom the Old Testament elsewhere calls sons of God, and the New Testament calls angels. But man is not made in the image of angels, and the Bible never teaches that angels participate in the creation of human beings. Since God alone creates man, many Christians believe that let us means God is speaking to himself. If so, this would be the first biblical mention of the Trinity. The term image of God can be seen as describing the ways in which man is different from all other created beings. It describes how humans resemble God in their ability to think, to communicate, to understand right and wrong, to be creative, and to experience relationship with God and with one another. This allows men and women to represent God as they exercise authority over the rest of creation. The Hebrew word for man, Adam, is often a generic term for both male and female, though sometimes it refers to man in distinction from woman. It can also be the proper name Adam. It depends where it's used, right? In the context it's used, and sometimes man just means like mankind, and sometimes it does mean man versus woman, right? So it just depends where you're at in the Bible. Although the word covenant does not occur in the Bible until 6:18, many consider Genesis 1:28 through 30 along with Genesis 2:16 to 17 to be God's covenant with Adam. Adam receives this covenant on behalf of the rest of mankind. Thus, in the New Testament, Paul views Adam as a representative head of the human race. Be fruitful and multiply. From the time of creation, God's plan has been that the whole earth should be populated by those who know him and who serve wisely as his representatives. To subdue the earth and to have dominion over it probably means that humans are permitted to make the earth beneficial for themselves. They are to investigate and develop its resources. This command provides a basis for wise scientific and technological development. It does not mean that humans may exploit the earth and its creatures simply to satisfy their own greed. And last thing, one final occurrence of behold, it was very good, invites the reader to imagine seeing creation through God's eyes. Despite the invasion of sin, which we'll see in chapter 3, we're not there yet, the material creation retains its basic goodness. Okay. That's a lot, y'all. That's a lot. But I love it. So if there's something that spoke to you that maybe I didn't talk about, or something else you've learned, right? I feel like every time I read the Bible, I learn something new. So if there's something else you've learned around Genesis 1 that you want to share, please do. And otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow to do Genesis 2 and get us all caught up. Y'all have a blessed one.